This is Ringside Radio, your ringside ticket to some of the finest wrestling talk around. And now, here are your hosts, GrimmChorizo, KatrinaCena, and SchloppyJoe!
Hello everybody, this is GrimmChorizo here. This is Ringside Radio, and I am joined with SchloppyJoe.
What's up?
And KatrinaCena.
Whoop.
And we are also joined by special guest, Chris. He's sitting here with us. He's looking good.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on Ringside Radio.
We're switching to a new format, audio, obviously, and we are going to be more discussion-based, less news, because if you're listening to this, you all know what's going on. So we're just going to talk wrestling and hope you enjoy it.
So basically, you can't see us.
A few weeks back, WrestleMania 30, the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania. My question for all of you is, where does it rank among all the 30? Now that the dust is settled, it's been a few weeks after, where does it stand? You got something, Schloppy?
Just pondering.
I'll just jump in because, I haven't thought a whole lot about it because I didn't know this question was coming until right now. But I would put it probably second or third, honestly. Nothing's going to unseat WrestleMania 22 for me because I was there and I was like just completely in awe. And it was an awesome WrestleMania with so many stipulation matches and things like that. So I would put 30, definitely after 22, but I would say maybe second.
It's definitely top 3 for me. I don't really know exactly where, but it's top 3. I mean, there's 3 that kind of change every once in a while after I watch them.
So what would your top 3 be?
17 would probably be 1, I think. It's probably WrestleMania 30's 2, and then 19 is probably 3.
Okay.
Is what I think.
I remember being in awe of 19 after it ended. I actually remember writing in my journal, like, I can't believe what I just saw, or something like that night. So
22.
19 must have really stuck with me as well, especially, left an impression after it happened.
21's really good, too.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty awesome. It didn't beat the main event of 27, though. Best WrestleMania ever.
Okay, just leave now.
No.
We do not talk about that WrestleMania. That's like rule number 1.
You literally are a troll.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. That was
Would
probably the worst
someone like
WrestleMania
to fill
ever.
Schloppy's spot next time we film?
Please.
No! No, I'm just kidding. That was probably the worst WrestleMania ever.
Let's move on from WrestleMania
Anyways,
27.
WrestleMania 30, I thought it was pretty awesome. I'd put it probably up in my top 3 as well.
And Chris, this was your first WrestleMania watching live.
Yes, it was.
So I guess you probably can't really compare it to much, but it seemed like...
as someone who just sort of casually would watch as, I'm constantly surrounded by it, having friends who love it, I thought it was really cool. I sort of got caught up in the storylines beforehand, and, I wasn't really planning on watching it, but once I sat down, it was sort of hard to get up and walk away, because it's just, you want to see how this stuff turns out. And I think it's just like any other show, once you get into one storyline or whatever that you actually care about, and you actually care about how it's going to turn out, you just can't not watch it, pretty much, because it's just so difficult to just be like, I don't care, I'll see it another time, I'll read about it, It was very entertaining. But yeah, I'd say it's my top spot as of now.
Number 1, yeah.
One for one, yeah. It was pretty cool. Very, it seemed like it was a pretty emotional roller coaster for people, and very panned by people, what they think of it. And they did a good job doing that then.
Yeah, since we're speaking of this emotional roller coaster of WrestleMania 30, what did you all think about the streak ending?
It's one of those things where it took a little bit of time to kind of
sink in,
fully understand what had just happened, because I think as it happened, nobody could have guessed that was going to happen. No. Either way, it happened, and I guess that was how we wanted it. I will say this about the streak ending. Regardless of who did it, the fact that it was like, wow, it's over, they shocked the world. WrestleMania 30 was amazing, and that
they made
shock
history
value,
with that just
exactly,
alone.
it made like a shock value that's like, A lot of people were comparing it to like Game of Thrones. It was like
It
killing off
was
your favorite character.
without spoiling any Game of Thrones stuff. But Game of Thrones is known for those swerves like that,
Yeah.
where they're just you're fully invested in something. You almost don't even think they're safe, you know. And I guess his streak was sort of safe. It was beyond what they were willing to compromise for a story, and they totally just. I mean, I wasn't even fully invested in it. I was just like, I just knew how important it was and how long it had been going. And when it happened, I was just like, it was almost like a mistake, you know. But obviously, it's not. It's just at the time, it was like everyone was like sort of doing the double take thing.
Well, and I straight up went into denial immediately.
Yeah, I mean,
I said he had to have gotten his shoulder up. He has a foot on the rope. I was in denial. Every possible thing that could have been, you know,
I'm sure tons
the
of
Undertaker
people were.
actually not losing. I literally went straight into denial. The Undertaker hasn't lost at WrestleMania ever, and his first WrestleMania, I was in preschool. I'm 27 years old.
Yeah.
I was in preschool, so he's never lost at WrestleMania, and he's been appearing at WrestleManias since I was in preschool. And Chris, I gotta hand it to you. One thing I respect the heck out of you for this, you being just a brand new wrestling fan, not saying what's the big deal, guys. You know, like you totally had respect for the fact that
I mean,
everyone in the room was devastated.
I
Like,
got that. I mean, it was. I mean, I was sort of like. I tried to be devil's advocate and see where they were sort of coming from. It took a whole nother, you know, maybe, you know, a few hours before I started. My brain started working. I was like, okay, I kind of see from a storytelling perspective. It was almost like they just had this thing, and they had to do it because it would just be so.
Well,
shocking.
it was basically the whole WrestleMania from the beginning to end was kind of like a fairy tale. It really was, because at the beginning you had all the different generations of wrestling represented.
yeah.
My only thing, if I could have changed it, I would have put Bruno Sammartino, and Cena in there too.
That would have been just amazing.
Because that would have been basically 5 generations of wrestling. Not that the 3 who were in there, I mean,
Not to
it was
devalue
incredible.
them, it was
No,
just-
I'm not at all.
Exactly.
But it was just, you had that at the beginning, and you had so many things along the way that told stories and took you on an emotional roller coaster. And then to have the streak end, and then at the end of the show to have Bryan Danielson actually win the big one finally, where they're not going to take it from him.
Sure.
And, you know, people are people at this point, at least me personally, I've cried twice during this WrestleMania by the end of it,
I mean,
for
they've
2
drained
completely
you.
different
They've
reasons.
drained everybody.
Because
of
when
emotion.
they took the streak, I literally sat there and cried for a half hour and didn't say anything.
It's,
Yeah, it was kind of scary.
It's like a good movie though, or a
Yeah.
good. I mean, they did a good job. There has to be devastation.
Brings out
There
all
has
the
to be.
emotions.
There has to be complete
But
disappointment.
I've never felt that way watching wrestling ever.
Yeah.
Like
They
straight
took
up
a
in
perfect
denial.
thing that has been
Yeah.
going for so long, and they snapped it in
Yeah.
half.
And to me, that is why this WrestleMania was so good, is because they had, it literally felt like a TV show or a video game that you've invested so much time into.
You were watching a movie. Like
Yeah.
it
It
was,
was, yeah.
And I think all of
You
us,
got the payoff at the
we
end.
were all on the edge of our seats the entire time.
Yeah.
Well, and the coolest thing is people who do get emotionally just so swept away by it. Like you were so low because of the streak ending, but at the end, you know,
They raised you back up.
yeah. I mean, it was
And-
just, and that was the only thing that didn't keep me from like throwing something through your
Right.
window. Besides the fact that I didn't have money to replace your window, is like they just took the streak. They have to be putting the title on
Exactly.
Brian. There's
Well, that's
no
the
way
payoff
around
at
it.
the
Yeah.
end, you know.
So I
Yeah.
kind of knew at that point that Brian was winning the title. That was my only consolation prize, so to speak. I remember Grimm saying something to the effect of, "It wasn't real until you see the 21-1 up on the screen,
Right.
and then you're just like,
It honestly,
oh my gosh."
It
It
makes
was
you
one of
sort of
those things
face-palm,
where
like,
the
ugh.
night after, because it was on the network and they put it up right after, so you could watch it right again. I went on and it was one of those things that's like, I don't think I'll be able to watch this again. But I had to. I watched that end about 10 times.
Well, we watched
And
it like
when it
over
just
and over
shows
that
the
night.
21-1, it's
I've
like,
actually never watched
it's
it
like
again.
you're, not the match, just the end.
Maybe I
but,
will.
but the 21-1 thing, you're
someday.
just like, it's something you never thought you'd see.
Yeah, exactly. And even if we had thought maybe the streak would come to an end, we never saw it happening against Lesnar.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about that. They chose the perfect person to do it, honestly, because
You
if
never
anyone
thought it
else would have, if they
Or
would have,
he chose the perfect person, I guess.
if they would have done like an up and comer or whatever, they would have ruined their career
It
forever.
could have, yeah.
Probably.
And
There's
he's-
so many
and he's at the
reasons, yeah.
when he was in that match, he was the highest heel ever. Like, there's no way you could surpass him.
A lot of that like hatred that would be sort of put on Brock. Brock's not there.
Right.
Okay. It's Paul Heyman has that hatred. Okay. But
Yeah.
here's the weird thing that I think is weird. They put frickin' Cesaro with
Yeah.
Paul Heyman. So they're
Such a weird thing.
That's
It's
something my
very-
mom and I were talking about because it's like he's so over right now, and then they're gonna put
Exactly.
Heyman with it. It's almost like it balances it out.
They are
it's
letting
like
the
they're
crowd
testing-
decide.
They're
That's
testing the
literally
waters
what
to
they're
be
doing.
like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah. The reality era.
Well, and nothing's gonna
Exactly.
ruin Cesaro. He's
Yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But that's why this is so weird of an experiment,
Whether
just from
he's-
like your traditional, sort of way of doing things. It's really weird, and it's almost like you can sense the sort of shift in how they're doing things. They're putting pitting heel versus heel, face versus. Well, I mean, in just matches where you're like, people are confused. They're like, this is really strange. It's like, like. People are going to cheer for the people who they like,
They're gonna
even
cheer
when
for
they
who they
should
want
be.
to, yeah.
They're billed as a heel or
and
whatever.
that's not how it used to be.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really
It's
interesting.
almost like this really is the reality
Reality
era.
era.
It's basically like
Well, remember you talked to me a long time ago, and I wasn't really into it. You brought up how like there was like a press conference or something where Vince was like, "We're doing away with heels and faces."
I heard a rumor
or something
about
like that.
And everybody was like, "What?"
And I was
It's
like,
like, what does that even
well,
mean?
I said, I'm like, yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That ruins
defeats good.
I
and
think
evil.
this is what it means. It's
Which-
not so much that
But it's still there.
Exactly.
It's just it's up to you to decide whether you like this
That's true.
person
Right.
or
The
not.
people decide
The
who
character's
gets-
playing. The
yeah.
person's playing a
role.
bad guy, but that's not to say, oh well, we can't like them.
Yeah.
Sure.
You can still cheer for them. Or
For
you can
example,
still,
my favorite guy as like a new viewer is Bad News Barrett, and he is a heel, right? But everybody cheers him and freaks out when he comes
Yeah.
out. I mean,
he's
and
so
it's
over.
right.
Well, I think part of that's because they held him back for months. They didn't
Yeah.
have
Sure,
him
yeah.
on TV, and he did work house shows because I went to a few during that time frame, and he wrestled at all of them. So clearly there wasn't an injury. So it was like. It's almost like them, having him do this ridiculous podium thing actually did him a favor because
It
as
really
soon as he
did,
was
yeah.
back in the ring, people are
were just
losing
like,
their minds.
we're so happy to actually see him wrestle.
Right.
And every
However,
match
I
he's done
think
since
if
he
he
started
had
wrestling
just
has been incredible.
Yep.
kept being Wade Barrett all those months, like I think he was already on his way to becoming stale.
so he
Yeah.
wouldn't have
And
been
I
relevant,
really think
yeah.
that he would have just like fizzled
You're
out.
right.
So they did him actually a huge favor by
Yeah.
doing that. I was like furious. It made no sense to me.
Right.
But now it's like they really do know. They really know what they're doing.
And another thing, you can tell he loves Bad News Barrett.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like a heel's job would typically be to get people to hate them no matter what. Like you want to get booed.
Basically, what? Yeah, that's
And he's getting cheers from being,
Being
like
the way Triple H put it a long time ago in one of my old Triple H documentaries is you want people to hate you so much that they will pay a ticket to sit in the front row and watch you get killed.
right.
So yeah,
So things are just changing pretty much, and I
Yeah.
think it's kind of refreshing and cool because
And-
I mean another one's Bray. I mean
Yeah.
he's the heel, but people, I mean he's just sort of like a, and that's part. It's like a meta thing. Like they are acknowledging how the crowd reacts, right?
Yeah.
And then
Which
just
this is
building the storyline around it, and that is and
Yeah.
that's why I'm into
They're
it. I think that's
acknowledging-
so cool.
Fan reactions a lot more than they did. It's like before they'd be like, we don't want this to be out in the open, but now it's like, you know what? We can't hide anymore. Let's make it the story. Which, like you said, that really is. It
What
makes
was that?
you more into it.
That
Well, and with the whole like yes movement, the thing with Daniel Bryan,
Yeah.
that's what made that storyline
You're
was the
right.
crowd.
I think
the
that might have been what
fans
made them
interact.
realize it.
Yeah.
I think the Yes Movement was a big reason as to why they are listening to their crowd.
And,
Right.
And you can definitely tell like that at WrestleMania 30, that is when Stephanie and Triple H, that's when they took over. That's when
Yes.
they started taking command and starting to make.
That might be the one thing that got me more into it is the idea that like, oh hey, this stuff is really fresh, it's really interesting to me. Something's different from when I would just be like sitting down and sort of casually listening in the background and just being not even engaged whatsoever.
it is. It's very different than it was even a year ago. Even
Yeah,
a
things
few
just
months
feel
ago.
Well,
exciting.
it's
and
like
sort of-
what Triple H has been saying. He comes out every week saying it's the reality era. this is a new era.
What does the reality era truly mean? I honestly think it's like you aren't getting the full effect of the show without sort of reading their Twitter posts and stuff and sort of knowing about their life, because it's weaved so heavily in to the show. Like, it's almost like, you know, stuff that's happening outside the show is part of the show now.
This reality era, it really is. Like, right, like you said, right after WrestleMania, it's like, it's in full effect. Yeah,
So
I think one of the
they
best
made it
part
good.
is bringing up talent.
That's
more
really-
of a,
yeah.
It's in a, it's like
It's
you can
refreshing
tell
to see
Triple
new
H. I mean,
faces.
on that one night we had Paige debut unexpectedly. We had Rusev actually debut. Bad News Barrett returned. Like, all that is just like, and they're actually making more story based.
Every match, there's a reason why the match is happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
As before, it's like, oh, well, you guys like
well,
Sheamus,
and-
you like Dolph Ziggler, so let's put him in a match on the
Right.
card.
But even down to the tournament for the Intercontinental Championship,
That was so cool
gives
to
so
me.
much value to the matches that
Yeah.
you're seeing. It's not like, oh, you know, here's another match. I'm
Two
gonna go
random
make some
dudes.
popcorn
Yeah.
because
Right.
I've seen these guys wrestle 18 times.
Yeah.
Just
It's
having-
okay. Let's see who's gonna advance in the tournament.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it gave them a reason to put on an incredible match because they were fighting for that title.
Right,
there's a
exactly.
story, there's
Whether-
a reason, there's something.
Whether it was actually the title match or not, they were still fighting for the title.
Because, yeah,
it was still
because it's
it
for
still
the
felt like a title match.
The fact of heels and faces kind of being like,
blurred.
yeah, the lines are blurred. A question I wanted to ask is, what is your favorite type of heel?
For me, I really like
You can use an example of a heel
Yeah,
too.
I really like those like Weasley heels, like the Edge or CM Punk, who like they'll like Edge. He like I don't know.
The ones
It's
that cheat
Edge,
and
like
stuff,
yeah.
and-
Well, not even that. They're just like little weasels. Like they'll go and hide under the ring until they've like okay, now it's my time. They'll come in and
So
just
they're
steal the pin.
So you like the Weasley kind of cowardly,
slimy-
Cowardly.
Yeah, like the
Which-
slimy
yeah,
heels.
yeah.
It's just funny because
No, I know what you're
guess
you
saying.
get so built up like oh yeah, that face is gonna win. Nope.
That's
Yeah.
probably the easiest one to get hate.
Oh,
Yeah, it really is.
Because
Yeah.
you get
Okay.
to just be all out, pure, unadulterated, like, you know, middle finger to everybody.
and they're always just so arrogant, like, haha, I won this title fairly. I'm the best
But then
wrestler
when
ever.
the guy comes up to fight you, they're like, oh, no, no,
no.
Katrina, do you got a favorite type of heel, type of, character?
Well, my initial thought was the Weasley heel too, and my favorite indie wrestler who doesn't wrestle anymore, Jason Hades. When he was a heel, he was like that, and he'd hide behind his manager and over dramatize everything, and he'd get chopped and act like he was dying, and
Sure.
just over the top and just really funny. But then I thought about something that happened when I was 12 years old. Triple H, okay? Triple H and Stephanie were like an on-screen thing, which is hilarious because, 15 years later they're doing the same thing except
Yeah.
they're actually married. But like 1999, like they were the McMahon-Helmsley era. And they were on screen, they were a couple and stuff. They did this thing where Mick Foley, if he lost a match, he would get fired. And he lost the match. And I'm 12. At this point, like, you can't separate
You're just
reality
freaking out.
from...
No,
You're just
yeah, and I literally, like, even then, I would write about wrestling and my experiences and what it, how it moved me. And I literally, like, I pulled this journal out, like, last year, and I laughed until I cried when I read this. I filled, like, 3 pages
With how much it hurt.
with... I hate Triple H over and over.
That's awesome that he got that out of it.
I was that emotional. Like, I was crying. I was so upset. And after my, 3 pages of I hate Triple H over and over again, I explained why I hated Triple H. So just thinking of that and how that moved me so, intensely. I gotta go with the just horrible, mean, conniving, backhanded,
clever, actual-
backstabbing.
Yeah,
So
it was really so
thinking about
funny.
how incredibly deeply moved I was by something that the cerebral type of heel and Triple H did.
really got under your skin.
It's so much.
Not so much as my favorite type of heel that makes me hate them, because that I would probably go with the Weasley one also. But my favorite type of heel now, when I look at it, is I like the ones who, when they cut promos and stuff, they're not lying. They're saying actual truth in their words. For example, like, do you remember when CM Punk was feuding with Jeff Hardy and stuff? And he was like, Jeff is on drugs and all this stuff. He's better than him, or I'm better than Jeff because these reasons. I mean, yeah, the fans hated him just because they love Jeff, but it's almost like he's a heel just because
He's saying what
He's
people don't
speaking
want to
the
hear.
truth.
And another example is Muhammad Hassan. If you
Oh my gosh,
he
yes.
came in and he was like,
Oh yeah.
he's Arab American. You all hate me just because I'm Arab. USA. It's like, you're proving my point.
Exactly,
But he's a
yeah.
heel. I mean, I could talk about Hassan for a long time just because I think that the character could have
Didn't really.
gone so much further.
Bad
Another
character.
now, I mean, even Bray, I mean,
Bray.
with Cena and stuff. Jericho, just the fact that when he beat Stone Cold and The Rock on the same night, he did, and he made you know, he said it every day. Like, it's just one of those things
And
where
like
I
when
like
he
the
talks
ones
about
who-
how he does every submission move
Yeah.
and just starts reading them off, and
But-
he goes through an entire commercial break and part of
I have a
and-
friend who was actually at that when that happened.
Oh, wow.
He's got pictures
Yeah.
that he showed me.
But like,
It's
So
like they're
funny.
so like
they're
they
so,
think they're right. They might be right.
Yeah, they're saying the truth,
and they're so
but the
tr-
fans
yeah.
can't, either can't accept it or don't want to accept it. And I mean, me too at times. It's just, I think that's an interesting type of heel. It's not. It's different from the cowardly. It's
It
different from
really
the
is. I
monster
hadn't
heel.
thought of that.
and-
I just think that
and
one's pretty
another one that
interesting.
did that too was AJ. She cut the pipe bomb about the whole total deal.
Yeah, that's true.
But
to
I mean,
side
with
with
Bray
that.
Wyatt and Cena, you know, Bray Wyatt has the bigger following.
Yeah,
You know, so but that's part of this era that we're in now.
yeah.
Sure.
So-
yeah.
Talk
Mine
about you.
is a little bit different, I guess. Like my probably favorite one, and you guys can. Okay, Bo Dallas.
He like the anti.
He's the.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
That is my
yeah.
favorite heel.
Yeah.
The ones that they're
Anti-heel.
funny. They're funny. You hate them, and then they make you love them because they are so.
They're so
Basically
terrible.
the opposite of Stone Cold Steve
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah,
who's
exactly.
the good guy who's, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The
That's my
anti-heel,
favorite. That's my favorite heel because it's so meta. Some people catch on, and it like
It's
it's so
hilarious.
funny
Yeah.
to me. Like,
No.
like
And the funniest part
More
is,
Bo.
he
Yeah.
thinks
No
he's a
more
face. He
Bo.
thinks everybody loves him as they're chanting "No more
Exactly.
Bo."
But see,
or
like, we
telling
used
him
to say
leave, or-
that we wanted to punch him in the
Yep.
face.
He was
And
doing
now,
so-
We're all
when I
loving-
watch NXT and he comes on, I just get this stupid smile on my face.
he's
and I'm
amazing.
like,
It's
oh
amazing.
my gosh, he's so cute. And my
It's
brother's like,
hilarious.
you hate that guy. And I'm like,
I know.
I don't.
Yeah, it's so funny because
He's the type of heel you love to boo and you love to piss off because
You just.
I'm
It's
so
just
glad you brought
funny.
that up because
He's
like
my favorite.
it's so funny that we
Yeah.
all four like said something different, but they're all like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, yeah.
but they're all
Like,
true. Yeah,
definitely.
I wasn't even thinking about that. Like, and you bring up a lot how Kurt Angle was kind of like that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bo
Yes.
is just a reinvention.
Well,
of
and
that.
basically what they
Yeah.
did with Kurt Angle, I remember when he debuted, they brought him in as a face, you know, Olympic gold medalist, blah, blah. I liked him.
Yeah.
And I was, again, 12 years old, but 12, 13. But I was like, this guy's really cool. You know, we've never had this before, basically. But everybody's just booing him to the point that you can't, it's almost like Vicky Guerrero's out there. You know, they're just,
yeah.
oh. And I looked at my mom. I remember this. I said, I don't understand. I think he's cool. Why do they hate him? And then next thing you knew, he was a heel because they didn't have a choice.
Right, and it's the opposite with Bo, right? Because they were forcing him on people. He is
Right.
your face. He's the face of
Yeah.
NXT.
And they were like, no.
And it was like I legitimately think they were trying to at first, and then they slowly caught on. They're like, "We have gold. We have gold here."
Exactly.
I agree.
And good thing for Bo, he is amazing
I
at
brought
that.
you guys cookies.
Yeah.
That was that failed. That failed. Occupy.
That was hilarious. Just
Bokipie or whatever
him
they
saying
called it.
This stinks.
Yeah,
It's the fun-
him saying
He
this
goes,
stinks.
This stinks. That's the best.
I'm
But that
so
was Kurt
excited.
Angle. He would always
Yeah.
say freaking.
I'm so excited to see him.
Should you listen to Ringside Radio? Let's ask WWE superstar Daniel Bryan.
Yes! 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 Yes!
So let's move on to our next segment of the random superstar.
And the number is drawn.
Okay, so we have number 80.
Number 80, a high number. It is. I'm the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
I actually really love the Boogeyman. I know
Yeah.
the Boogeyman. Yeah.
Okay, so
think
Katrina
you-
Drew, why don't you start us off?
Who eats worms on national TV? I mean, seriously.
Boogeyman, cast a Fear Factor. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, that was a rhetorical question, dumbass.
Well, then there's Schloppy over there.
I think he's a character that I I don't know, just interesting. I'm not even sure what era he belongs in, if he belongs in any era. But
He was an anomaly.
just something about eating like 5,000 worms at once was just scary.
Yeah.
But he'd like hit himself in the head with the clock and it would
Yeah.
shatter, and he was just weird and disturbed, but like really it's almost like I can't even tell you much about his ring work because I was too
Yeah.
busy being disturbed
almost
You're
and
too busy
matter.
being freaked out, yeah.
and in awe of like
His persona.
this
Yeah,
strange.
I couldn't tell you what his finisher was. I always just assumed it was him spitting worms in someone's
Yeah, I
face.
mean that's all you really remember.
Yeah.
But it's worthy to note that he was on one of the tough enoughs, but he got kicked out because he lied about his age because he was much older than he actually said he was, and then. I don't know, I guess his punishment was to eat worms on TV and be the boogeyman.
And I thought the character was awesome though. Like it's like what you said, his in-ring work is I have no idea
I
what it
do
was
not know.
like.
Yeah.
But like I think he did some like type of slam or something for his finisher.
Yeah, he did. The
Boogie, well, it's called Boogie Slam.
Yeah.
But I mean, he kind of pump handle slam.
Yeah.
pump handle slam, that's what it
Yeah.
was.
But he came back at the Slammies, what, 2 years ago?
That,
Just
yeah,
a
That,
2012.
that was awesome, yeah.
That was a great cameo.
Yeah, it
Oh my
was. It's
gosh.
perfect.
Yeah, I'm someone who can't get enough of that kind of thing. I
yeah.
love the theatrical horror type stuff. He was like not your like. It was kind of cheesy, but at the same time, it elicited a real disgust from his
Yeah.
worm thing. But he really had it together. The concept was really cool. He really had a cool sort of. He was like a witch doctor
Yeah.
from like some kind of ancient spirit guy, and he had like. The way he like shook his body and stuff, he really was disturbing in a sort of a haunted house type of way.
Yeah.
Like he kind of makes you go like, ugh,
Yeah.
I don't like that guy, but like in a cool way. Like
Yeah.
I think if he had too many characters like that, it's bad. But he was
Yeah.
special in that
and he
wasn't
did it
so much
perfectly.
like he wasn't like the Undertaker where it's like he was sort of a badass, but he was more of just like. He just
Like,
sort of
pretty
gave you.
This guy is weird.
He's
yeah.
disturbing, yeah, and
And the fact that he ate that thing off Jillian's face, that's disgusting.
yeah, I don't even.
Dude, as soon as she showed up with that thing on her face, I turned to my mom and I said, one of these days the boogeyman's going to eat that off her face. I said that. There was no doubt in my mind that
The
that's how
funny
they were
thing
going
was
to end
they were
that.
like, they only did it. They're like, Boogeyman's gonna eat that thing off her face.
that's probably what they were thinking too. Like, you know what would be really weird? Just Boogeyman ate some weird thing off
But
someone's
see,
face.
I picked that right out.
Right.
Like, as soon as I saw her, I
Yeah.
just knew
That's
that's what was
bizarre,
going to
yeah.
happen. And it did.
Well, the thing is about Boogeyman is, like you guys were saying, like the ring work. I mean, he was whatever. But if I find myself on the network or YouTube going back to watch a Boogeyman match, it was for the entrance.
Yeah.
Because his entrance was just like when he smashed the clock
Epic.
over his head and the fire went off and he starts shaking. That is just something that. Oh my gosh! It's one of the.
It's all in the entrance, the music, the
Yeah.
characters, and Boogeyman is like one of those things where he might not have the the technical skills that other people do, but made up for it with a
character, man.
memorable character
his
that
character made up.
Yeah.
The Rock has gotta know. What is your favorite podcast?
Well, I guess my favorite podcast would probably.
It doesn't matter what your favorite podcast is, because The Rock's favorite podcast is Ringside Radio.
if someone's a badass, people are gonna like them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're heel or not.
Yeah.
Cesaro, they can, I feel like they're sort of meta controlling the crowd without them really even knowing it. But he's just too strong and too awesome, and he has too many awesome things that he does. There's no way anyone is ever going to
Yeah.
boo him, no matter how much Paul
Well,
Heyman...
and they tried to ignore him, but your casual fan can only ignore someone like that for so long.
Sure,
he is phenomenal.
With Cesaro now, he's got a new theme. What's the consensus on the theme?
Well, not consensus. What is everyone's individual thoughts?
Yeah, okay. I like the theme.
Yeah, I like it.
People hate this song. They hate it. Like the majority of people who I've read, for some reason, they forget about all the great songs that have like a lot of like. They don't have lyrics. They're not a pop song or a rock song. They're just a song composed by somebody.
It's just a kind of a generic.
They see
song.
it as generic and like a jobber type song, and I don't get it at all.
No,
Because
me
here's why. Listen to like Bad News Barrett. People love that song.
It's very
like the
similar,
same type
Yeah.
of
It
song.
is.
I mean, it's just a really good riff. I think people just don't think it fits him. And I'm someone. I actually make music. I thought it was a great song when you just listen to it. I think people just feel Cesaro is so great that no song will ever be
Yeah.
as good as what
Well,
he
then
is.
what are you gonna do? Have him not have an entrance?
Exactly.
Have
Actually,
Heyman-
people
like-
like that. And
Have
I think
Heyman walk out talking.
I kind of see where you're coming from though, with people thinking like just him walking down should just
It's just not
that
good.
should
They
just
don't
be
think
it.
that this song that sounds just like
I think
rock.
his song is really cool though. I like it
yeah.
a lot. I like his original one probably just as much.
Oh, okay.
Is that the
If
chilled
not
out
more.
one or whatever, or is it?
Is it the one that's
One-
kind of like the rapping with the like?
Yeah.
different, like,
Well,
cool-
and I always associate that with him coming out and
Yeah,
doing the
Yeah,
fists.
it's like the Euro
So-
sort of because he's
Yeah.
European. It's like
Yeah.
that
when he
Euro.
wore the like that red jacket and he was the U.S.
I honestly
champion.
think people wanted something like that
That-
too. So-
Well, I like either one, but the new one, but I really like the air raid type of thing because
Oh, yeah, it's cool.
and one of my favorite indie wrestlers came out to I don't know if you guys have heard the Disturbed song Indestructible.
Oh, yeah.
But it has the air raid. And
Sure, yeah.
he's one of my favorite indie wrestlers of all time. And so that kind of made me think of him. So I have almost like an emotional connection to it. But, all bias aside, I think it's a good song. I think it's fine for him.
It's not like this is going to be his theme for the rest. I think they're going to give him something.
I agree. And
Because when he becomes
here's
like the top guy, they're probably going to give him something
Well,
more
fitting.
next year, Cena's had the same entrance theme for 10 years.
That is true. But the tornado sirens or the air raid sirens, I love it. Like
Yeah.
that. I want that. Whatever his next song is, if he's still doing the swing thing, which I'm sure he will be, I want that in. Well, with entrance themes, what do you guys think is like the best currently entrance music
best
right now?
current entrance theme.
Just one that you're just like, I love.
Probably as far as fitting and a good song and just sort of getting a reaction out of people, Bray Wyatt's.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Because it's creepy, it's a great song, and it's not just like a cool song where they come out, it's part of an experience when they come out. It's very cool.
It's kind of like The Undertaker's, how it was like part of the experience.
It really is, yeah.
Those are the best themes, I think.
Well, and to me, Dana Bryan's trying to get that way too, though. Just like his music hits, everyone just stands up and starts yesing. Like,
Well, it's such an
It's-
intense metal
it's-
song.
yeah.
It's really cool.
It's like it's
yeah.
instant. As soon as they hear that first
Oh, yeah.
note, they're up
The
standing, yelling.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
the start with the strings, yeah. I mean, that is an intense, awesome song. I wish there were more
And it's-
like
and
heavy
it's so
songs
fitting.
like that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Speaking of entrance themes, it's like your guys' like favorite kind of entrance theme, like the ones that's just like fast paced, that get you up. And,
Oh,
like,
I should have answered the question
well,
then.
yeah, that's yeah.
Well, actually, this kind of goes along with what I was going to say because I was going to answer the question without actually answering it. I think somebody used the word experience earlier, and I think a lot of entrances have actually become more an experience than an entrance.
Get people into it.
The Shield.
Oh yeah.
Like, who doesn't get really excited when the Shield comes out?
Right.
Especially
Everyone's
if you're
looking
there.
where they're coming out.
Yeah, and that's what, if you watch, you see it, but if you're there in person, you do the exact same
freaking out,
thing.
you're like, where? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
heaven forbid they walk right by you because some people can't handle that in a mature fashion.
Katrina.
The music and what actually happens with it is
Sure, yeah.
such an intense thing. But I think The Shield is one of my favorites right now because
Yeah.
who doesn't get excited about that? And the entrance theme is really
the
cool
opening
too.
part is on, and then the
Yeah.
song itself is just
With
like,
the
And the fact that I
phonetics
can't
and-
figure out which one's saying which.
But another one I
it's
think
gonna
of
weigh
is
on
the
your brain.
Usos.
Yeah, it's one of those things
Oh,
like
the Usos.
When the
yeah.
Usos come out, it's like,
yeah.
and
They
the
do
song
the-
is really cool. But like when they come out, like I've had like, non-wrestling fans over or whatever, and there's just the WWE Network on the TV. But when their entrance starts, like heads turn and people just like zero in on what they're doing
got
because
these
they're
two Samoans
yelling and
screaming,
they're,
yeah.
So to go back to what you were saying, like what's your favorite type of entrance theme? Not so much the music because it depends on the song.
Yeah.
But
And
the
the
person.
person.
So
Some
I
things fit
love
people.
ones that have kind of like an intro part to it, like
Yeah.
the Shield, like CM
Agree.
Punk had the like thing,
Yeah.
like the
Well,
Wyatts
Edge
have
has-
the
Edge has the-
Edge, you think you know me, just like a thing before it. Barrett, God
Sometimes
Save
it
the Queen.
makes it.
I think
Yeah.
those little opening things really.
yeah,
add
Barrett's entrance
a
wouldn't be
lot.
the same as the God Save the Queen
Yeah.
thing.
And with you on that, I heard Bo, who we were talking about, Bo. I love Bo. They got him a new song, which I listened to, and I don't know, like, if you want to wait to sort of get the experience, but it goes with his promos.
Yeah,
or
I'll just
whatever.
wait.
And it's very fitting, but I think it needs that little thing at the beginning to sort of get people.
okay.
They hear it and then they'll
They
explode or start booing. Yeah,
they automatically
So-
just know who it is.
Right,
yeah.
because without it, it just flows right into the song. But if you have that thing to cue people to be like, oh no,
And like another one, like we were saying earlier, that has that big experience, like Goldberg. how he comes back from backstage. And,
Right.
Like, I'm really hoping to do something like that with Adam Rose. Have him come out of the bus.
From his bus, that would
and
be
just
awesome.
like,
That's a no-brainer in my opinion.
like they really need to have
At least
that.
for his debut, they need to be like he's just in his bus.
It'd be cool if they have people in his entourage that you recognize,
Yeah.
like maybe, I mean, they always are using like,
NXT.
I personally think that they should pick random fans to be in the entourage.
that would be
How
really
cool would that
amazing,
be?
yeah.
That would be
Like
amazing.
stick like something under like 10 chairs in the crowd, and then they just be like,
You're a rosebud.
before they actually
yeah.
go on,
Yeah.
everybody look under your chair, and if you have like the golden ticket, so to speak, you're a rosebud, like
Yeah.
you said.
It should be like
that
a
would
rose
be
or
amazing.
something.
Why would you not do that?
Yeah. That'd
Just
be
like
awesome.
with the
They'll be the
Occupy
most
Raw
into it.
and-
Yeah, they'll be the most into it too. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll be dancing all over. It'd be really cool. Yeah.
I mean, I would die of joy probably. I wouldn't make it out there.
That would make.
And I think you said before, like they should get like local celebrities or whatever to go
That
on
would
and
be-
like to follow him out. Like
That'd be
that would
really
just be
cool.
cool. 'cause
Or
it's like a big
Okay, that
party.
would be cool
That would.
because
Let's say
everybody
they go
in
to
the
a
crowd
certain
knows
city.
them.
Let's say they go to a certain city and they get like an athlete from
Yeah.
that city or something, and it just be like maybe they walk by him and he's like dancing and stuff.
So on the opposite end, what's the worst entrance music?
Santino.
I think
pretty bad.
I think this is where it gets fun. The worst. Some of the worst entrance music of all time that you think.
I
of.
really,
think-
I'm probably gonna get
Bushwhackers.
flack for this. I really don't like Shawn Michaels' song at all. I don't like it.
Yeah, here, no.
It doesn't.
I
It doesn't
kinda-
fit him as it did probably at one time, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But for the his, I just think it's one of those things that it just.
Especially after his rebirth and
Oh, yeah.
getting
Sure,
his
yeah.
life back
It just
together.
was
Yeah.
it's like I don't like it.
I
the
see where you're
song.
coming from.
The Cody Rhodes Goldust
Oh, the
mix.
mashup.
Oh, any
the
mashup.
It's really bad.
Mashups usually.
Well,
don't-
they
Yeah.
did pretty
They
well
could
with
be good.
Rybaxel though.
Yeah,
the
it could-
Rybaxel
it's
one
actually-
isn't bad.
It's alright, yeah.
it's actually kind of funny because the first time I heard it, I liked it. Then I listened to it again, and I didn't like it. And then I'm like, now I like it. Like after hearing it so many times.
Musically, it
I think it's
works.
actually a pretty good
Yeah.
mashup.
I mean, it makes more sense than
Ryback-
random yelling with the...
Here's the thing, from a musician doing mashups like that.
Like, good job, guys. That took you what 5 seconds?
Yeah.
These aren't mashups, but these are
Well,
some of the,
yeah.
the worst ones that I thought of. Do you remember the Coach's theme from like his first one?
I'm kind of scared. Oh, it's
Oh god, yeah.
Remember it?
so 80s.
Does it have words in it? Yes, it's this one. Listen.
I thought it was terrible.
Sounds like a Sega Genesis taking a shit.
It's bad.
It's at this weird little synth thing, like thing. It's really bad. This is like the full song. He just walks out there.
But he would like, yeah.
This. I hate it. I hate it. So that's one
We've had
just to bring you
It
down.
hurts.
Scott Steiner.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh gosh. Do you guys remember Rob Conway's
I
theme?
thought of one.
No.
No?
Sorry.
Take Randy Newman, and it's Randy Newman, but like it's like an evil.
You know Randy Newman, the guy who does the Toy Story
Here's
music and
Rob
stuff?
Conway. You'll remember it.
Just look at me.
Oh shit.
You remember it?
Yeah.
He'd like sing it while he wore the sunglasses.
It sounds like toys.
Exactly, Randy Newman.
friend and me.
I don't like Zack Ryder's theme.
I don't like it either.
Yeah.
I like Zack Ryder now.
Yeah, I think
but
he's
I'd
cool.
like to see him with a different theme. And
I don't.
That's
I
the
don't
one
mind
talking
his
about
name.
the
It's-
bulge in his pants and shit like that. I don't
just-
like
it's
that.
just-
Oh,
fits-
yeah, like
it
wearing
fits
his
him.
pants
It fits
tight
his.
and-
It fits his like his
bros-
character.
And it's kind of it's catchy too, though.
I mean, this is just a.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's
like
not a bad. Musically, it's not bad. It's
Yeah.
just I don't want
Do you know who sings
to
that?
listen to it.
No.
We should probably let them.
Another really bad one that they always just play on the game. David Otunga.
That I have that
Oh,
written
yeah.
down. I
Yeah.
can't stand
Yeah,
it.
it's so terrible.
Oh,
Yeah.
What's with these? If it talks about the radio in it,
And then when she randomly has an entrance occasionally, I cannot stand Alicia Fox's damn music. It
yeah,
goes
I
like,
know.
Oh,
and that's it. That's the song.
Yes.
That is her freaking song.
Oh my god, I just remembered something. You know what would some jazz that would fit a WWE superstar is Cesaro needs Sing Sing
Oh
Sing
gosh, yeah.
because it's a swing song, okay, swing jazz. It is an epic song. It's borderline heavy metal for jazz, right? It's the
Oh yeah.
I would actually love for
people
that.
would freak out for that. It
I'd
is
actually
so
love to
cool.
see that.
It's a great song, and people would get really into it because he's the only one who has an epic big band jazz song, you know? It would be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Seamus, okay? Right now he has
yeah.
too many limes. But I'm
Yes.
thinking...
Lobster head.
Right, and he's expressed that he wants
Yeah.
a new song, and I think Seamus is really cool. I think he's a bit stale. His theme song though is "Too Many Limes" is quite funny to me, but and it's kind of Celtic, you know, the Irish singer, but the Dropkick Murphys like a punk song, like a really raucous sort of like drinking song that's really intense. I mean, the one he has now is it's heavy, it's good, it gets people going, but I think if he could come out and just be like so pumped up to like, you know, Shipping Up to Boston or even like a Flogging Molly song, just something like that, an Irish band that really, he for himself has said, I love these guys, I
Yeah.
want them as my music. It's weird that they haven't done that, you know, and made that happen for him.
Right.
We listen to Ringside Radio on Friday nights, Maggle.
Well, Ambrose is now, the longest reigning United States champ in WWE history.
Yes, he is.
And he doesn't really defend it ever. I like the United States title, and there's so much that could be done with it now. So many people who could hold it. So if you had the opportunity, the fate of the U.S. title is in your hands.
My
That's
idea,
I mean, go for it.
yeah, my idea just from watching recently is that, you know, they've done this before where they vacate a title, right? Okay, the Shield right now is really huge, right? Dean Ambrose is big. He's part of the Shield. I think personally that the Authority, or not even the Authority, I guess Stephanie's kind of taken over as the Authority. Triple H is now in Evolution, but he's still he's feuding with the Shield, right? I think Triple H should just be like, I vacated the title, you know, like you want to
Like,
mess with
strip
us.
Dean Ambrose
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
like you're part of the Shield. It's like you're
It's
messing with.
amazing that hasn't been done yet.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense that hasn't been done.
It seems like a no-brainer. Like
Yeah.
here, we have this problem where Dean Ambrose is part of this stable that is so, you know, over, and you know we don't want to make Dean Ambrose look weak by having him lose his title. Just vacate it, because that way you're not only allowing there to, you know, you could do something else with the title. You could also, you know,
It'll-
have a storyline
It helps
reasoning.
progress the story.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's what I think would be cool about it, because it's kind of like Triple H showing like, I'm in charge, man. You guys picked the wrong people to mess with. I can just strip you of any in all, you know, your career basically, and then they could, you know, I don't know if it should be like a tournament thing like they're doing with the Intercontinental thing, but they could just use it for something else. And I feel like the only reason they haven't is because they honestly don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So they've just kept it on him.
My thing is, I think what happened was originally they were teasing the breakout for the Shield since like
True,
before Royal
that is
Rumble.
true.
So I think what was going to happen is originally
fight
it was
over it or
supposed to be a triple threat at WrestleMania for it between the three of them, but they're
True.
like, oh well,
They turned that
we have the main
Let's do
event
this
triple
evolution
threat.
thing.
Yeah,
Right.
They never got it
and they're
on.
like,
Thank God
and then
they did,
and then
'cause
they
it was
got
awesome, yeah.
and then they got to the point they're like, well, crap.
What do we
He
do?
still has it. What do we do with it?
Yeah, and they're kind of
And then-
stuck. They like
yeah.
screwed themselves.
And I
in a way.
agree. I think they should. Triple H should come out like, you know what?
I mean,
I'm
they
tired of-
vacated the off of Brian that
Yeah,
one time. I mean,
and I think.
Well, and
NXT,
Paige just got
yeah,
stripped of
women's
the
title.
NXT
And I think what
women's
needs to
title.
happen is Triple H just walk out like, you know what? I'm tired of your crap. I'm stripping you of your title, and I'm gonna.
yeah, it's like you want to mess
And
with
I'm
me?
just gonna give it to someone.
Gone.
Just like walk backstage, like to the first person who's like, "Here, you're the new U.S.
Right,
champ." Or
and that
whatever.
would be
Just-
funny because it could have been
That would be
anybody,
really funny.
and they just get handed it and they're just like,
Okay,
You know, and they-
hold on.
And who is
Here's what I've been thinking ever since like
Get ready to
this
debut
question was
someone,
dropped. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here.
Right, yeah.
Because Chris was talking about, you know, stripping Dean Ambrose of the title, do a tournament or something, or you like every time someone has said something, my excitement
It makes
is
you
just
something-
building.
yeah, something
because I've
builds.
had the same person in mind. But whether we do a tournament or we hand it to the first person who walks through the door, give it to Bo Dallas.
Yep.
that's
And
what I
then,
thought too.
because seriously, it would be funny if that was like the first person who walks through the door is Bo Dallas. He's the champion,
And he's
and
just-
then he's like, "Oh my gosh!" And he's like
He's so
kissing
excited.
babies and, you know, throwing confetti.
Here's the best thing
and
about it, too.
Everybody just hates him.
This is why it's perfect with exactly what you just said. Bo is the guy who he thinks everyone loves him and
Right.
stuff. The for all intents and purposes, nothing against Ambrose, but that title means pretty much nothing right
Yeah.
now. So giving it to Bo, he gets this title that has been stripped of any sort of
that
real.
he in no way deserves to
and
have.
and
Exactly.
he sees himself as this is the most important thing ever.
Yeah.
And he's
He
just
views
over.
it as the world title.
He's
Yeah.
overvaluing it,
Yeah.
and it would be
And-
so funny and so
And if Triple H
perfect.
just walks up like, "Here, take this. It's yours." He's gonna be like, "Oh, everyone loves me so much. Triple H gave me a title."
I could just see
Right.
him looking down and just
And-
looking at this camera and doing this cheesy smile.
and then that's how the segment
You know,
ends.
but
Believers,
but
I'm
here-
gonna have have cookies.
Yeah.
Here's how the
next
camera
week.
work of this segment needs to work to get the pop or the heat. Triple H, he strips him of the title. He's like, I'm just gonna give it to the first person I see. He's walking, and he looks over. You don't see who it is, and he's like, "This is yours now," whatever. And then
It's like, "Here, take this."
It pans over, and he's like, Bo hasn't even debuted yet. And,
Yeah.
and he's just like,
Oh my god,
and
I
Bo's
love
like,
this. I really
Bo has
want
that-
this
and,
to
and
be
then it
it.
shows it, and he's just like,
And he like holds it like it's his
inserts
child.
He should say something like, I just had to believe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just like-
Bo comes out and he's like, he thinks now that he has this, everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Right.
So he comes out there and he's like,
I did
NXT, they turned
We
their
did
backs
it.
on me.
And then everyone's like,
But I knew that it would
Yeah.
pay off. I knew inside of me, I had the ability to be your champion.
well, and then
everyone's
everyone's like,
fuming.
and then everyone else is like, who the F is this guy?
Exactly. And instant hatred.
Yeah.
Well, and that could
That'd be
totally
great.
go with
I
even
want that
would
to
even
happen.
match the vignettes because they're just like this stuff.
And
Of,
he's
It's like those motivational posters,
Exactly.
but it's in a video form.
Exactly. And
But,
the whole, like,
I mean-
it's hard for an egg to fly or
Yeah.
to become a bird.
Yeah.
It's like, I just became a bird, guys.
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm your champion now, and everyone's just booing him,
Oh
and
my
he's
gosh,
like, what?
perfect.
And he made it perfect in NXT. He'd somehow have to go even a step further now on the main roster,
Yeah.
where it's just over his head. He doesn't get it. It's like everyone's booing
I
him.
wish we could send this to WWE.
Yeah, this
headquarters.
would be.
if this happened,
be
I would
awesome.
seriously be sold.
I think that this that we've been talking about is a lot better, but I did have a other idea of what
Another scenario.
with the U.S. title, unless if you guys.
well, I want to hear it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's this El Torito and Hornswoggle
The
feud
WLC?
going on right now.
That
right?
is very
so
unfortunate.
Here's what happened.
I think it was hilarious.
Okay,
because
at
of
Extreme
JBL.
Rules, there's going to be
Yeah.
a WLC. We'll say Hornswoggle wins. He beats Torito.
Sure.
And he basically, they play a thing where Hornswoggle's like, we had a vote. McIntyre, you're out of the band, man. And he's just like, what? Like, so they kick him out of the band, basically.
Because
He goes
Hornswoggle's better
he
than
goes
him.
on, and he eventually wins the U.S. title.
Okay, that would
Then-
be cool.
Because he's awesome.
And he's
I
back
love
to
Drew
an actual
McIntyre.
wrestler. And he comes back the next week. And it's
saw
not the
him
U.S.
in
title.
Target.
It's the European title.
That would be awesome.
Oh wow!
Oh, yeah.
And then he sets up a feud with, like, I don't know. Doesn't really make sense because if
Jack
Swagger.
Swagger.
Swagger were a face, it would work really well, like
Right.
fighting for like the U.S. versus the European. I just think
See,
that would
this
be
is
kinda
another
cool.
one that writes
Drew
itself.
McIntyre
like,
bringing back
oh,
the European
man.
title. I mean, there's a few people who could do it, but I think that would be.
I could just see Zeb being like, "We need the U.S. title back in the hands of the real American."
Yeah.
You're listening to Ringside Radio, invented by Chris Jericho.
This is a new segment we're going to try out called Release or Revamp. Basically, I'm going to say a superstar that's, on the roster right
Or
now,
diva.
or diva, and we're going to each get to say, do we release them? Do we repackage them? Do we put them in a new storyline as who they are? I mean, it's all in our hands. So this episode's superstar of Release or Revamp is Damian Sandow. This week he was featured as Magneto on Raw. So, I mean, he has fallen far from being That was another SchloppyJoe facepalm brought to you by SchloppyJoe.
Baseball.
Special Ed Sloppy Joe.
So he's fallen far. I mean, he was Mr. Money in the Bank last year. Now he's freaking dressed up as
And a Magneto hoodie.
So, I mean, what do you do? What do you do with this guy?
This is kind
What
of
do you
dark,
think,
honestly.
Chris?
Well, see, I thought Sandow's. He's kind of like when he was doing his, intellectual savior stuff. He actually was an awesome heel in that people really did hate. He was like one of those heels that people just hated,
Yeah.
So in that, I think people still hate him. So he's doing
Just in a
that
different
well.
way.
It's just he's so. It's weird that he's on TV doing that. Of all the things, I guess at least he's doing something.
Yeah.
If it were up to me, I would just. I don't get why they stripped him of his gimmick. He must have done something. I don't know what warranted that sort
Well,
of.
and sometimes when you mess with something backstage and make somebody
It
mad,
could have
they
been
do
that,
to you.
or it could have been. It could have been a lot of different things. I'm not gonna claim to know what that is. All I'm saying is I don't understand why because I thought his gimmick was good as that. I personally didn't like him that much as a. His character's good. I'm just saying he did a good job of making me dislike him, basically. So I would just sort of maybe I don't really see the point in repackaging him because he had a really good gimmick. It was really well thought out. There wasn't anything like it at the time. I mean, he came out in a bathrobe. He was just such a douche.
Yeah.
He was just so pretentious. And he took it so seriously being the bad guy. And I would just let him have that back and do basically not stick him with these horrible things that don't really make sense, because I think he is talented. And, I don't know what warranted that. But I would just say you are still the intellectual savior. Maybe push him a little bit enough so that he can, maybe get a feud with somebody that makes sense for his character. It wouldn't have to be a big thing, but, I just don't understand what happened. It's something happened bad, Yeah,
I'd have to agree with Chris. I think they should go back to the intellectual savior, when he was coming out and quizzing the fans, trying to find his new apprentice. Have him go back to doing that. That was
funny.
That was so funny.
Well, that was kind of when Ted DiBiase would, try to, he'd offer money if someone could complete a challenge, and then he'd always rip them off, where they wouldn't be able to complete the challenge. Yeah. Very similar.
And something I think they should do, when he comes out, wearing the bathrobe, I think they should have him coming out with, a book in his hand and smoking a pipe or something.
Yeah, play it up even more, It's almost...
Make him seem like he's a pretentious dude.
The more he talks, the more people hate him.
I would keep him. I think he has proven that he's worth his weight in gold. He's so talented. He, he can talk. He can wrestle. They should keep him. They never should have dropped the intellectual savior of the masses. I think some of the things he said were fantastic. Mm-hmm. And, I actually never disliked him because I just thought he was really good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think they could have put him in, that Intercontinental title tournament, especially if it happened sooner, because he's just been doing nothing for quite some time. And I think it kind of showed when they did the Occupy Raw and he was supposed to go stop it. I think that was kind of their way of putting on screen that, this guy in some way has screwed up and we're gonna, he's gonna pay for it. I think that honestly was their way of getting that point across, because that's what I felt from it.
A public humiliation
because they
type
were
of thing.
Treating him like crap on live television.
It just doesn't seem professional to do that. I don't understand.
You'd be surprised.
Well, I got two storylines that I'd do with him. Number one.
So everything that's happened is still reality. You're not undoing things.
So we're gonna bring back the intellectual savior thing. He's starting to win more. He's starting to bring back that gimmick.
He's going to break his losing streak.
Yeah. But then, instead of continuing on as a singles thing, he finds someone who's smart enough and has intellect, and his name's Aiden English from NXT. That's how he comes in. The two are a tag team. There you go. I mean, Aiden English still sings.
Yeah, he's a little bit of
Damien Sandow still talks, but I feel like they could get along. He at least finds that
it's
he's got brains and stuff, and he's got talent. I think that'll save Sandow. Put him in the tag team division. I mean, they've got...
Yeah, it could be something
they need more tag teams.
I visited the NXT
and I have found
division.
someone who has the intellect that you all don't have. That you lack. And then he comes out, he's like, spotlight, please. And it's like, uh-oh.
They can even do a plant with that too, though. What I said, have him go back, asking the...
No more mashups. Aiden English does the entrance thing.
Yeah, just have him sing and Sandow just be like...
Have them
Sandow can sing too.
Yeah.
He actually can sing.
Yeah.
Or something else they could do instead of having I went to NXT and found someone, they could put a plant in the crowd and have him find a random fan in the crowd and
that's true.
Ask them the questions again, and
I'm not real big on plants.
Yeah, I'm about I mean, plants are cool, but
I really like that idea. I like the idea of almost they might recite poetry, or they might
I think that
read Shakespeare, and then
right.
they act out a familiar scene from a play, and just something funny that everyone knows, but they completely inject.
It would be entertaining.
Let's say they do Les Mis or something, right? They do Les Mis, and then they change the story of the thing to just be making fun of whoever is a character
that'd actually be hilarious. My other storyline is if they keep with this losing thing, have him go insane. But here's what happens. He goes so far and he goes insane. There's only one guy who says he'll save him, and that's Bray Wyatt. He's like insane. He's just out of it.
He has a beard.
And he's just he's walking. I don't know. There's like a
Maybe
backstage thing.
that's
He's just
how
walking, and
Bray
he's just
Wyatt
like,
would work. Take someone who's broken and
yeah,
sort of
I thought they were
they
going to do this insanity thing back at the Royal Rumble when he cut a promo that was like, insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting
And
different
Sandow
results.
is doing
I thought they were
that,
going to do that
right.
way back then, but just have him, he keeps losing and he keeps just, he's dropped the robe,
Man,
he's
that's-
dropped the stuff.
that's dark and
Just
deep.
have him be like
good though.
basically
It is, yeah.
like he's going to like end it or something.
Like, well, it could
and
just
then
show
there's
him
one
sitting
guy
and, like-
and Bray is like, I could save you, man.
Yeah.
And it's like you
And
said,
just-
You're
yeah.
fed up with this
Those are just
machine.
two
Yeah.
ideas that I'm like, you know what? I
It's like
I
what you
wouldn't
said at
mind
the Royal-
seeing it on
yeah.
TV.
I love
It's
both
like
of
what
those.
you said at the Royal Rumble. He cut that promo, and also after he was eliminated, he sat outside the ring for like 5 minutes, just leaning
Yeah.
against the barricade.
I thought they were
like-
going to do some insanity thing
Yeah.
a long time ago.
I just felt like the whole Sandow going insane thing is almost. I don't know if that's too meta for them to. It's like the WWE admitting that they are just jobbing him. You know what I mean? To okay that storyline, it is basically almost too real.
Yeah.
Almost too real, even in the reality era, to basically admit like, yeah, Sandow, we're treating him like shit. That maybe
if
like
they're not,
it's like,
then-
well, you've dressed up like Magneto 10 times. We feel like you've paid your dues and you can become Damien Sandow again. Like that just seems so
And
weird
then that's
to
when
me.
it plays Hallelujah.
Yeah.
He's so happy.
Yeah.
So he would be not released. He'd be revamped as himself, basically his rightful self.
By God, this is the best damn podcast I've ever heard in my life, King.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to Ringside Radio. Hope you enjoyed the new audio and more discussion-based format. I'm GrimmChorizo, joined with SchloppyJoe and KatrinaCena, and thank you, Chris, for being our special guest for this.
Yeah, thanks
month's
guys.
episode.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having a newbie to the WWE universe. I'm sure they'd like me to say that.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Those about to rock. Yes, it's my dick. You want a podcast? Well, this is it.